Okay, so we pass to Ismael Peña. Actually, when I was preparing, I thought that it's very interesting to be here talking about open access, because actually when we met first, it was on a trip to Kenyatta University in Nairobi, working on e-supervision, and Ismael was actually telling all the PhD students at Kenyatta already then, I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago, how openness during their whole research process could help them to be more interconnected with the other researchers in the world. So yeah, it's nice to talk about open access again. Ismael is professor at the UOC Faculty of Law and Political Science. He's also researcher at the IN3 and the eLearn Center. His PhD is in Information and Knowledge Society. And since 2014, he's also the fellow director of open innovation at the Jaume Bofill Foundation. And he works on the impact of information and communication technologies in development. He's the editor, I'm sure many of you know, of the ICTology blog, where he's like the practitioner of open publication. So I pass over to Isma to the presentation.
Gracias. Buena tarde. I'll switch to English. It feels good not to be the freak for once, so I'm very glad to be here and explain you about a research which is an ethnographic approach of a sample of one, which is me, and I will tell you what I've been doing for the last almost 14 years. So it's a real case. It's not going to be humble, I'm sorry, but actually everyone has been talking about themselves the whole day, so I don't feel that bad now. And what I'm going to just tell you is how I operate on my daily basis. And daily basis means that I don't know what an output of research is. I think that everything is an output if it can benefit anyone or myself. The other thing that I wanted to say before I start bragging about what I do is that I don't do that because there's a mandate or there's a Bethesda declaration or it's anything like that, because it's useful to me. There's some other ethical opinions that I have on, like, let's say, traditional research and traditional things, how they do. But in general, I do this because it's useful. And that's the main thing that I want to communicate to you. It's useful. It just gives me feedback that improves my research. So just not to be very theoretical. This is what a normal research is. You have an idea, it's simplified. But you have an idea and then you have something that happens in the end. And I'm going to like to follow the normal process of research, what I think most of you surely do also on your daily basis. And see how we can complement, not just get rid of the other thing, this is another debate, but how can we complement the traditional approach of doing research and publishing or making diffusion or transferring this kind of research with open, let's not say tools, but practices. So the first thing that happens when you want to do research, or you do research, is I have an idea. What's going on with the 15M? What's going on with this Indignados movement? What's going on with e-participation? This is the real case. I said that I've been doing this for 14 years, not only just one research project. I will just show you what I've been doing in the latest research project, which is about e-participation. It was a major project with 10 countries involved. It was led by an Indian NGO, which is called IT for Change, and it was about e-participation led by government. So they wanted to know if this e-participation is about just showing off and saying, yes, we're transparent and we're participative, or no, it's actually giving a voice to people. So they asked 10 guys in 10 different countries to do research on that. I chose the city in Barcelona, which some of you might know, it's the participative process. I would not say process now, it's a full strategy of the City Council of Barcelona. And I've been especially analyzing what happened with the strategic plan, the PAM, that happened in last spring, not this last one, but 2016. So the first thing is, yes, I have an idea. In that case, I have a commitment to do this kind of research. And the first thing you do is say, what's going on out there? What's the state of the question? What has been people doing? So the first thing that I do is I say, hey, I'm here, hello world. I'm this guy, which is the photo, sorry, it's like 10 years old. Both photos are 10 years old. But the first thing that I do is, hi, I'm this guy, I'm Ismael. In this case, it's about the centralization and democratization of the... This is what I do. I say hello to the world, I'm here. And if you want to follow me, you're a junkie of the stuff that I'm talking about, you can follow me on these many places. I think it's the first step. The first output of my research is myself doing research. So I sort of sell myself, say I'm part of you, your community, I'm here. And the second thing is what's out there. And yes, we can read other stuff, I will go on that afterwards. But besides other things that you do in your traditional things, which you already know because you're here, it's, let's go for instance to Twitter, and I go to OGov, which is the hashtag for guys doing open government, and surprise, there's no porn, there's no politics, there's no independence of Catalonia, there's the two major guys in Spain doing really cool stuff on open government, which is Alberto and Carlos, and the other guy is the last publication of a professor at the Autonomous University of Madrid, which is Ignacio. So first thing, well, social networking sites are great. Great if you know how to filter it. It's not noise. I mean, yeah, there's noise, of course. The library of UOC, it's plenty of pages, which might be noise depending on what you're looking at. So the first thing I do is that I keep connected to, let's say, the reality and see who's out there and what are they doing. Maybe somebody has already done my research. And there's other places like ResearchGate or academia.edu, and you cannot read. This is my subscription to these places. But there's also Science Direct and the quarterly of government, the quarterly of something that I'm subscribed to. So it's not either or that. It's not Twitter or I don't know what. It's social networking sites which are vertical, are only for researchers, and also just regular journals. So you can really cope both things. So now I have an idea, I have a commitment, I have a plan, I know more or less what's out there. Now I go to the regular stuff, literature review, what has anyone else in that topic, and I might attend an event, like a congress, and see what the communications of the people. There's two ways to do that. One is I go to the library and I read all the stuff, I do that, and I attend the events, and I do that too. But if I read, why not share that? So this is my bibliographic references manager, and it's out there. This is the bibliography that I used for my first draft paper on the state of the art of this e-participation research. These are the 44, I think, the references. It's open, you can use it, it's there, and I use it for teaching, just copy and paste, no copy and paste, I just linked it to the top part. I can copy and paste it on the paper. People see it and say, why did you use my paper from 2013 and not the one from 2017? Or send it to me. Of course, send it, and you will cite it. Great. This has happened to me. People saying, what did you do? And they send me the papers that you would have to pay $35 otherwise. So the first thing I do is I read and I share it. Again, this positions me as a guy that is doing this research. I do not have to tell people I'm doing it. They find me through Google because there's a lot of things that are really related to this stuff that come with me when they look for that. Another thing that I do is if I attend an event, I guess that most of you are taking notes, I do that too. In that case, I attended an event of the Meta Decidim, is part of the, let's say, the participation design of the platform of Decidim Barcelona. It's a video, something you cannot attach on your notebook, on your paper notebook, and underneath there are my notes, which I can search, categorize, tag. Did I say search? They're with me on my mobile phone, on my tablet, everywhere. I have all my notebooks, everywhere I go. And again, there's no comments here, but you will see in another, this is my blog, by the way. You will see in another slide that there's comments coming on. So yes, I do literature review, of course, and I attend the event, of course, but I can open these outputs, which is my notes, my bibliography, my everything. You have an idea, you have more or less a glance of what's going on, you begin to draft ideas or draft notes, and you come up maybe with a working paper. Some things that I do, my notes are online. this, you cannot see it, but it has 6 comments, which led me to version 2.0 of this thing, which I presented at the government of Catalonia, because they saw this scheme, which is, you not see the scheme, it's underneath too. They saw that and they say, why don't you come and explain to us what you meant with this? So first thing, I get feedback from scholars. Some of these comments are from scholars, and have a adverse impact on society. The government of my country asks me to explain to them what an unfinished research output I have. That's a very important thing. I mean, my report came on like a couple of weeks ago, my last report of this research project, but this is much, much, much yearly. So that's a very good thing to me, having feedback on my draft notes, not on the end of the things, which I cannot replicate. I mean, yes, there's peer review, I will do not anything about that, and I have some like real feedback of the real reality. And I have a working paper. Is this the working paper of the working paper series of IN3? No. Why? Well, because it was really working paper. I mean, really working paper means that it was more or less drafted notes. It was very early results. I shared it because of 2 reasons. A, because I had feedback from it. Second, because I was citing guys that were working on that at the city council. I mean, guys that know that I'm talking about them. So the least that I can do is say, hey, my research goes like this way, and in this working paper there were like the first draft notes on of the 2 final reports that I had to do for this research. What do you feel about this? And they called me and say, Ismael, we have to have a beer, maybe 2. And this is true again. I met with the guys at the city council and told me, more or less everything is great, but this and this and this and this and that, you have to really improve it or make it better or change it. It's not really that true, etc. It really did happen. It was in self-publishing. It's not self-archiving, it's self-publishing, and I'm proud about it. So, of course I can do a working paper with IN3, which I do too, but it takes ages for what I needed right now, which was huge, quick feedback and legitimacy to keep on doing this research. If I'm not legitimate in this, at least in this field, they're just shutting out the doors in my face, and I have no access to anyone. I had to do some interviews, so I really needed this legitimacy. You come up with some, let's say, formal results. You go to a congress and you present a communication. What do? First, I share the communication. By the way, this one communication is already shared. This is a lecture. It's not a communication, but the snapshot is just to show that I share the full reference, the presentation, all the PDFs and the zips and all the things that you can download. But yes, I can also publish the communication, the real one. This is from IDP, you know, our huge conference in internet law and politics, and it was from let's say a previous research, but it was very related to this. So this is the real communication, published in here so that people can comment it, etc. Why publish the communication if there was the final article that came afterwards? Well, because sometimes it can really provide feedback that I can use to improve the article as it happened. So the last thing, you finished your research and you have the paper. And then there's the what's next, which normally, not always, but we normally think like in papers. I begin a paper, I end the paper, I throw it on the trash bin, and I begin from scratch. I like to think more in circular ways. I didn't make it circular here because it would be a little bit embarrassing for you and your sense of balance, but this idea of I have the final thing and how do I cope with the next thing? Well, this is the final paper. This is the report that I sent to these guys. It doesn't call anything on my CV, but it's out there, and I was able to share it with everyone of the people that I interviewed, people that I talked to, etc. Somewhen I will have the final paper. This is a paper that came off the first report. Now, a little bit of a reflection of tempos. My first draft was from August. This paper was sent like in October, November. It says 2016, but it was published 2 weeks ago. These things we do publishers that we just... It came 1 year after the first one. I mean, the second one was published by myself, self-archived and self-published, before the first one was officially published. This is a nightmare. This is not useful, definitely. I mean, I'm against this, but now they say that I'm not against this. But this idea of what I need as a researcher, which is quick feedback, quality feedback, being legitimate to be able to do this field work, to have to be able to do interviews, to be able to dig on more data. I really need things to speed up. And what about peer-to-peer? This is another thing. I mean, evaluation, assessment, promotion, it goes on another line or another lane. But for me, I really needed to publish things quickly so that this peer-to-peer happened really in the real world. But yes, of course, then I can publish openly everything up. And it's in my own in my own repository. It's also at GIR, and it's in many other places. And I publish also the research in newspapers. This is not my own research. This is shared by a doctoral student and another person that we made a trio to work on this. It's not related to the other thing, but it's a way of saying we can like walk in circles. This is going to be published in a real journal with this real impact and this real ISSN. In the meanwhile, while it takes ages for the reviewers to edit it, accept it, and everything, why not the real stuff just published in the newspaper? And it's great. We had a lot of feedback, most of it very bad because we criticized some guys about not doing really cooperative economy, but we had that feedback and it was useful for us. And the good feedback was, yes, you guys are on the right track, at least on what matters for society. So this is the thing. You have an idea, you have the final output, you can do your regular track, but you can also it's like unfolding things. It's not like you have to substitute things. You can unfold things and do things very much different and very much complementary and very, very useful for other purposes. And now some of you might say, yeah, but they will steal my work, oh my God. In this sample of one, it has never occurred to this guy. On the contrary, and I have many experiences on that, but at least I have two very interesting experiences. One is the term ICT4D. Some guys long ago claimed that it was theirs. They wanted to copyright it. And the UN had a lot of trouble, United Nations, had lots of trouble trying to have this ICT4D concept be in the public domain. So they asked people for things published before these guys wanted to copyright it. And we had many people's blogs and drafts and things published, so we could prove that ICT4D had been going on a lot of the time before these guys wanting to turn it into a brand. Second thing is that Scott Wilson, you might not know who he is, but you might know what a PLE, a personal learning environment, is. The guy just published in his blog in 23 what he thought the PLE was. I mean, it became really mainstream, it became super cited, and it took him 3 years to go to a conference because his boss said, Scott, you have to go to a conference and do things the right way, and to have a communication published saying, I'm the guy that said that this is a PLE. And everyone else was already giving him credit for that. If you wanted to claim that PLE was your thing, you would have a strong community stating against you, saying, no, it's a Scott Wilson work. So can they steal your work? Sure, I mean, everyone can. But if you have tracked or you have everything recorded online, it's very easy to track back in the years who was the first guy to put that online. And this is much very more easy to do if it's online than it's not only on paper. But you're working twice. Sometimes it's a little bit more, but what I try to show is that I mainstreamed this idea. It's not that I do my notes on a paper and then I put them on my blog. It's not that I work on my bibliography on a paper and then I put it on my blog. It's not that it's that I just work online. I work openly. Sometimes it's a little bit added effort. I mean, no one asked me to upload this PowerPoint, but the PowerPoint was already there. I mean, the great matter was already in the PowerPoint. I mean, uploading it is just 5 minutes. It really pays back. But it's really, 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 really worth it. I think so. I have people sending me their papers in advance. I have people sending me comments. I have to acknowledge that I had a very bad error in statistics in my thesis, and someone at the UN wrote to me, well, actually they did it on the blog, and say, Ismael, I think that you're taking correlation for causality or the other way around. And she was right. I mean, it was embarrassing, but it was great. It had been much more embarrassing during the defense, right? So it was great to have that. Do I have this every day? No. Does it pay back the relationship between the return of investment? Definitely. But it's really, really worth it. Okay, this is public university. I am paid by taxpayers' money, so even if it was not really worth it, this is what there is. Sorry, this is, no, it's not a strong argument, but this is how I feel. So even if it was not really worth it, this is how I feel. It might not be paying back for the standards, for accreditation, for this kind of stuff. I try to, but sometimes it doesn't. But it really gets me in touch with the real guys, with the guys that are going to apply these things, the government, the practitioners, civil society, friends, other guys. And at least emotionally, or when I go to sleep, I really feel it was worth it. And here you have it. For anything you might ask, I'm here. Thank you. On Danny, I honestly think that there's no relationship between opening up and speeding up. The first thing is that I said that I just do the regular pace of things and they just open it. If it's speedy or not, it's a matter of the guys that Angel talked about want me to publish 8 papers a year. But this is not the issue of opening. I mean, the speeding up is these guys at ACU saying that I have to publish this much. There's a truth in your words that it's about the field. If you are in Roman law, things are like more steady. And if you are in social movement and the 15M and technopolitics, things are much quick. But again, this is not about openness. It's your field that it's speedy, and it's the guys at ACU and etc. that make you publish more. But I really think that I said that you can unfold your regular pace, and if it's your pace that it's speedy, then your openness is also speedy. But I really think that it's different things. About directors was, it was funny you said that I was well known on the net. My first answer is, guess why? I mean, it's not because I'm famous on the net that I can do these things. It's because I did these things 14 years ago that I am more known now. So I think the causality here, it's very important. I think that if I am more like handy and I can get on with people on the net, it's just because I did all this kind of stuff. About the PhD, I have an excellent case, which is Ricard Speld. He's hopefully going to defend next year. And what I said is that if you want to have a real impact in society, and not either or, in society, you should be more open. What do we do? Ricard, you have to say who you are and have a website. He actually has now 4, because he has his own website. He has his PhD, a thing about artivism that is different, and he submitted to a prize, TCCB, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he's really unfolding things. And this is the easy part, saying, Ricard, you have to do these things, and he does it. I mean, other PhD students, they do not do that. But there's something that I can do, let's say, for him. Instead of writing him an email and saying, oh, Ricard, did you look at this paper? I send this through Twitter. And I tweet the paper and I copy Ricard. And if I find it on Facebook, I publish his work on my Facebook account saying, look what Ricard just did. So we are mainly having our conversation, Nadia said before, talked about before about e-supervision. We are having our e-supervision open too. Of course, we have emails saying, Ricard, this sucks. And I don't do that on Twitter. But the things that we would regularly do on email or face-to-face, most of the things have a replication online. And it's really great because when I tweet something and I say, Ricard, look at this, someone would answer, Ricard, are you working on this? Can we talk about this thing? This has happened? Or, Ismael, this thing you're sending this Ricard guy, who we don't know who he is because now he's well known too, but have you read these other things? So we really create a community of practice and research that is true. And now Ricard, after 3 years after he's beginning his PhD, he's really the king in his field. all the cooperatives of consumption, which is his field, are looking to regard, and you go to a fair, this is a true story, you go to a fair in Badalona, and there's some guys there saying these agriculture, consumption, and cooperatives are a good thing, and they have a Ricard interview, an interview that they did to Ricard just in their poster saying, this is not us that is saying that this green consumption is good. This guy, which is doing his PhD, is saying so. And this is great. So it's just that our interaction happens online, our interaction happens openly, and we create this community of people interested in research, in practice, etc. And this is the best thing that I can do for him, just do things naturally in the open, and it works. I'll begin with Rosa, and if it's already published in my blog, then it won't be published elsewhere. It hasn't happened to me. There's half my PhD thesis was already in my blog, and the last book chapter I published, it was already more or less on my blog. And it was on my blog because the last book chapter was like 3 or 4 talks that I had given, and it became like something that could be on as a paper. Yes, they could have said that. And so 3 answers that I have to that. First, it hasn't happened to me yet. Maybe it might be the exception. The other one, I know it's a tough one, and it's a personal issue, but I'm willing to accept this risk. I mean, the cost of opportunity of not having an impact, and maybe someone not willing to publish me, I'm willing to accept that risk. This is very personal. It is not, maybe not even rational, but something that I'm willing to do. The good answer, which is the last one, is that my blog has a legit ISSN number, so I can cite myself. So I make it that official. So this is something that I really do. We all cite ourselves, so don't be like panicking. So what I do is like, if there is a big bunch of something that I'm quoting, like verbatim, I say, this guy, which is me, already published this there 2 years ago, ISSN, I have issues in my blog, so I can do this kind of stuff. Can all blogs do that? Yes, 10 years ago, citing a blog in an academic paper was like, oh my God, come on. And now people are doing PhD theses with Twitter accounts, with blogs, and the last one that I saw, the girl was wrapping the whole defense because it was about hip-hop culture. So let's try to break a little bit on that. Again, I said, it's a risk that I am assuming to acknowledge, and someone might not be, but I think we can really circumvent or just force the system or hack it. About Anna, I think you're right in one thing, the other one I don't agree that much. I think I said that it's not much more workload. I don't think that is true, that it's much more workload really, but it's absolutely true that there's tons of feedback and tons of distractions, and then you go to the TV or you go to the government and you're not doing the real stuff. This is absolutely true. But again, I don't think the matter is about openness. It's because this society made that there's a trade-off between being a real scientist and having an impact on society. And again, this is a risk that I'm assuming, and it has some costs, some of them professional, some of them personal. Really, I acknowledge them. It really caused me trouble, and it caused me anxiety at sometimes, I'm not kidding. But if there is a cost of opportunity of having too much feedback, the cost of opportunity of having no one applying your research is, for me, unsurmountable. So yes, I assume there's a lot of feedback, there's a lot of noise that I'm exposed to, but it pays back, at least at the personal level, and I'm more happy with that. And it really caused me lots of trouble. I mean, not hitting that, but I chose that way.